Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Gopi Chandra Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Chandra Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yabula Tira Vandachari Yabula Tira Vandachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is Friday, so we read Srila Prabhupada Nectar book today instead of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will start. Nobody's reading from the book directly here. If you were reading, it would be on page 310 or section 38. Oh, I see. Okay, so I'll just read. Srila Prabhupada could do something very unusual, yet he would do it as if it were perfectly normal. Such was the case when he decided to bathe in a washroom at the airport in Bangkok. He had been flying several hours and was taking a 2-hour stopover in the transit area before heading on for another several hours flight. It was very early in the morning and the airport was not crowded. While waiting, Srila Prabhupada decided he wanted to bathe, so he asked a servant to get him fresh clothes and his bathing paraphernalia. To accomplish this, the servant had to first locate their luggage, which was being changed from one airplane to another. When the servant managed to do that, he and Srila Prabhupada went to the men's room. This particular airport had no shower facility, but Srila Prabhupada wanted to use whatever they had. He walked up to a small sink and said he would bathe there. The local attendant was with them in the bathroom, and when he saw what Srila Prabhupada was about to do, he became upset. Prabhupada proceeded coolly. Using his lota, he obtained water from the faucet and covering the lower portion of his body with a gamsha, began washing with soap. The attendant didn't directly confront him, but he became increasingly upset, mumbling to himself that Srila Prabhupada spilled water all over the floor. When Prabhupada finished, his servant handed him a towel, and he dried off. Then he put on his fresh clothing. Only as they started to leave did the attendant come forward. He approached Srila Prabhupada and began speaking in the Thai language. They couldn't understand his words, but he was obviously angry. Just go away, said Srila Prabhupada. Just go away, said Srila Prabhupada's servant. And he thought, you're lucky you're getting to wipe up this water. I think he's a little upset, said Srila Prabhupada. I think he's a little upset, said Srila Prabhupada's servant. Prabhupada laughed and said, I had to bathe. I was feeling very tired. Number 39. Prabhupada's sister, Pishima, was a great favorite of his and also of his disciples as they witnessed her devotion to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental relationship with her. The devotees first heard of her when she sent Srila Prabhupada some papadums in the mail in 1967. When Prabhupada said these things had been sent by his sister, the devotees became curious and asked more about her. Yes, said Srila Prabhupada, she always attacks me. She always attacks me. The devotees were shocked and asked, what do you mean, Srila Prabhupada? Prabhupada laughed heartedly and said, she attacks me with her tears. Sometimes when she sees me, she cries. That is a woman's weapon. When they asked more, Prabhupada told a little more about Pishima. He said that when he was a young boy, he used to beat her once a day. When she got married, he once went to her house and was beating her there. But their mother told him, you don't have to beat her now because she has a husband. If she does something wrong, her husband can beat her. Prabhupada objected and said, no, this is my relationship with my sister. I must be strict with her. One day in Vrindavan, Prabhupada entered the sewing room where his female disciples were working. His sister had been there, distributing sweets to the girls, but she had momentarily gone off to the bathroom. Where is the fat one? Asked Prabhupada. The fat one? Asked one of his disciples. My sister, where is she? Oh, she stepped out to the ladies' room, Srila Prabhupada. When she comes back, said Srila Prabhupada, tell her I want to see her. By intimate dealings like this, devotees enjoy associating with Prabhupada and Pishima. One time in Mayapur, the lights went out, and Prabhupada called over his sannyasi disciple, Panchadravida Swami. Please take my sister downstairs, Prabhupada requested. On Prabhupada's order, Panchadravida led Pishima downstairs, appreciating the relationship of Prabhupada and his sister. Sometimes Prabhupada would mock his sister in his disciples' presence. She could not understand the language, but enjoyed the attention from her wonderful brother. Look at her, said Prabhupada, how fat she is. When the devotees started laughing, Krishna looked up and started laughing too. She didn't understand. Do you know any person who is fat without eating? Prabhupada asked. No, Prabhupada, the disciple replied, I don't think that is possible. Yes, Prabhupada laughed, but she tells me she is eating very little, and she keeps on gaining weight. But I know she is eating. Sometimes devotees working on Prabhupada's personal staff were bewildered how to deal with her. One servant complained to Prabhupada that Pishima was sleeping in the servants' quarters and the men couldn't use the room. Although they had spoken to her, she would not listen. Prabhupada said that he would tell her that she cannot do that. Even after talking with Prabhupada, however, she was determined and continued to loiter around the servants' quarters, just in order to be near Prabhupada. When the devotees tried to explain to Pishima that her cooking was not good for Prabhupada's digestion, she replied that if he wanted to, Prabhupada could eat nails and digest them. She said they're saying your cooking is not good for Srila Prabhupada because he cooked very heavy things sometimes and he couldn't eat them. So the devotees are telling her like that, but she says that if Srila Prabhupada wanted to, he could eat nails and digest it. That means very good digestion. One night at a pandal attended by tens of thousands of people, Pishima joined in the ecstasy of worshiping Prabhupada. Indians were rushing to the stage to touch Prabhupada's feet. Pishima herself went up, touched Prabhupada's feet, and then returned to the audience and touched many persons. She began to go back and forth, touching Prabhupada's feet and then touching persons in the audience. Prabhupada stopped her angrily. Tell her to sit down. Srila Prabhupada ordered, stop this. Pishima realized that she had made a blunder, and she went home and returned the next day with a big feast for Prabhupada. Next section. This section is called Little Drops of Nectar. Prabhupada, when there is a choice to make in the service of Krishna, and you don't know whether to do this or that, how do you choose? There is no choice, Prabhupada replied. You simply do what Krishna gives you. Ranachor Das was trying to understand whether he should go back to Manchester, England. He had been there twice to open a preaching center, but for different reasons he had had to come back. Now he was asking Prabhupada for his permission and blessings to make another attempt. I was wondering whether I should go to Manchester to preach. Rancho again asked directly. Perhaps you could tell me what to do. Prabhupada answered while walking towards the window. How many times has a center been opened in Manchester? Rancho replied that it had been tried twice. This time if he goes, said Srila Prabhupada, it must not close. Prabhupada looked away, and Rancho took this to mean the meeting should end. He made his obeisances at the door, but just before leaving, he asked another question. Prabhupada, is there any special instruction, special service is there any special instruction, special service you can give me? Prabhupada looked at him and said, simply preach, that is all. Simply preach. This is a sannyasi he was talking to, so just go out and preach. Next paragraph. When the tape recorder at 26 Second Avenue broke, it was Umapati Das's responsibility to fix it. One time a fuse had blown and Umapati needed 35 cents to get a new one. Meeting Srila Prabhupada in the courtyard of the building, he asked for the money. The student shouldn't ask the spiritual master for money, said Prabhupada. Umapati didn't know what to do or say. He didn't have any money and he wanted to fix the tape recorder. Despite Prabhupada's instructions, Umapati repeated that he didn't have the money. Prabhupada also repeated that the student should not ask the spiritual master for money. Finally, Prabhupada gave him the 35 cents, but only after making sure that he understood very well that the disciples should not ask the spiritual master for money. While Jagat Datri Devi Dasi was receiving her Gayatri mantra instructions from Prabhupada, she asked him when the mantra should be chanted. Prabhupada replied, morning, noon, and night. When she asked Srila Prabhupada, how am I going to remember you and surrender to you for the rest of my life? Prabhupada smiled and replied that if she chanted 16 rounds a day and followed the 4 regular principles, she would remember him and surrender to him. Prabhupada was then quiet for a few seconds and added, don't forget to feed me. I guess she was Srila Prabhupada's cook at the time. Don't forget to feed me. Next part, number 41. On challenges and outside influences on ISKCON. These are different excerpts from letters, it looks like. So from a letter dated December 4th, 1967, it says, regarding the 2 men who have come to us from Gaudiya, for the time being, we should try not to give shelter to such persons unless they are tested. Next one. Why Nithai should be attending lectures outside our temple. If he is not satisfied with the standard of lectures in our temple, then he should be permitted to give some lectures himself. But this habit of going outside to hear others should be stopped immediately. I'm writing one letter to Nithai. A copy of this is enclosed for your reference. Nithai at the time, Nithai was one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples way back. He was a Sanskrit scholar. He was assisting Srila Prabhupada in some ways with the books. But he became deviated from the path. As he was going out, he was hearing lectures and other gurus outside. And one time he actually asked Srila Prabhupada, please give me your blessings that I can find a qualified guru. So he obviously was off. So next one is a letter from July 14th, 1976. I have received reports that you have been developing the habit of going outside the temple to hear lectures by others outside, like Sringa Balaram. Also, I've heard now that some of the Indian devotees are doing likewise. Strictly, nobody should go outside to hear lectures by others. If you are not satisfied by the caliber of the classes of the Krishna Balaram Mandir, then you should give another class. But you cannot go outside for hearing others' lectures. Kindly stop this habit immediately. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada was very strict about that, not hearing and getting advice by others outside of ISKCON. He said, I'm sure it'll come up here. Actually, in the very early days when Srila Prabhupada was still in New York Temple, the first place, he had a heart attack again. After he was still on the ship, he again had this problem. So he was going to go back to India to see if he could recover. So the devotees had asked him, because everyone was brand new, it's like the first temple, and everyone was completely new in Krishna consciousness. So they asked Srila Prabhupada, if you go back to India and you don't come back, Srila Prabhupada didn't survive he died, then he said maybe perhaps one of your godbrothers can come here and continue guiding this movement. And Srila Prabhupada thought for a moment, and then he said, no, this is not. You cannot do that, because if they come and they speak one word different than what I'm speaking, there'll be so much confusion for you. And then he actually said it was that attitude was actually an offense to the spiritual master. That they're even suggesting like that. So Srila Prabhupada was very particular about that. He gave so many instructions, but he knew that when his godbrothers came, if they did come, and they would give other instructions in a different way. And he said, "What do you do?" Srila Prabhupada said, "This," and you're saying this. So he said, "No, do not do that. Just follow the instructions that I give them." But then Srila Prabhupada came back from India after he survived that particular difficulty in his life. Another letter, February 15th, 1976. Do not let your mind be disturbed by so many things. Our movement is for chanting Hare Krishna. One can be happy under any condition. Suma dukkha sukham dhiram. Krishna consciousness does not depend on any external arrangement. You should not go outside the shelter of this ISKCON. Just try to be happy by chanting Hare Krishna and following the regulative principles. Another letter, June 4th, 1975. I am actually authority. I am actually authority accepted by authority. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pravartana. So now the Hare Krishna movement is world known, and learned scholars, etc., give plaudits to me, as Professor Judah has. So why am I not authority? Nobody says Bhavan Swami has done it, or Vivekananda, or any other Swami. There are many yogis and swamis coming, but nobody is giving credit to them. They're giving credit to me. So why am I not authority? If Krishna accepts me as authority, then who can deny it? Oh, the whole world. If his motive is to suppress me, and that is why he has come here, how can we receive him? He has already given one professor a wrong impression. He may be treated as a guest. If he comes to our center, give him prasadam, honor him as an elder Vaishnava, but he cannot speak or lecture. If he wants to lecture, you can tell him there is already another speaker scheduled. That's all. I don't know specifically who this is referring to. I don't know specifically who this is referring to, but some Srila Prabhupada says you give that kind of instruction in general. If his godbrothers or leaders from other groups come, give them prasadam, be nice to them, but don't let them sit down and give class. Don't buy their books and things like that. And in fact, he said, don't even give them our books unless they want them. But don't give them to them, because it will means the instructions will probably be a little bit different than what Srila Prabhupada taught. And we may ask, why would the instructions be different? Why would the instructions be different? Because the same Vedic knowledge is there, and it's taught here and it's taught here. Why should there be any difference? And the answer is that there's different levels of knowledge. There are general principles, and there are details. And so the details can be adjusted a little bit. So someone might be speaking some details, but which may differ a little bit, just like Srila Prabhupada set the standard for us that we chant japas 16 rounds minimum every day. Someone else can come along and say, no, the standard is 64 rounds a day. But the general principle is that a devotee must chant Hare Krishna and must chant some minimum prescribed rounds every day. But the acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada, they can decide how many rounds that should be, what is the minimum. You can always chant more. So Srila Prabhupada gave one standard like that. It's a detail of that general principle. And another, somebody else may come from outside and say something different. So then there becomes confusion. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Okay, going on. Number 42. Srila Prabhupada tells short stories. If you simply understand Krishna thoroughly, then you are liberated. Janma karma chametyam. They question, if Krishna is God, why is Mother Yashoda binding him? But they do not know that is pleasure. There are many instances. I will cite one instance. There was a big prime minister in England, Gladstone, Queen Victoria's prime minister. Someone came to see him, and the servant informed him that the prime minister is busy, so you wait. The man was waiting, and an hour passed, and still there was no message. Finally, he opened the door because he wanted to see what the prime minister was doing. He saw then that the prime minister had become a horse, and his grandchild was driving him. Throwing him on the hands and knees, and the grandchild's on his back. So that is enjoyment. That is enjoyment. He is the prime minister, but he has become the horse of his grandson. And this is the position of Krishna. Krishna is in the big position, it's God, but he likes to enjoy the way he wants to enjoy. Next paragraph. Yes, you cannot want something unless you derive some pleasure from it. Just like the devotees' theater performance in Ahmedabad. They showed how the butcher was killing animals, and he was attracted to that killing. I've also seen this myself in Calcutta. I was passing through, and one hotel man was cutting the throat of a chicken. After being cut, the chicken was jumping, and the man was laughing. He was taking pleasure in this. For me, it was horrible, but he was taking very nice pleasure in it. The half-cut chicken was jumping, and the man's son was crying. The man was asking his son, "Why are you crying?" So it is a question of different qualities. One is attracted, and one is attracted, and one finds it. One is attracted, and one finds it something that is detracted, repulsive. The attractiveness is called mellow, rasa, or taste. There is a story about one man, a cook, who bought a nice new pair of shoes. But all morning long he was in the kitchen cooking, so he couldn't use his shoes. Similarly, all afternoon he was cooking. So what did he do? At night, when he went to sleep, he wore his shoes. He wore his shoes while he was sleeping. So these shoes, which the devotee had sent to Prabhupada in the mail, are so nice that I don't know when I shall be able to wear them. So when taking rest at night, I shall wear them. Next paragraph. The scientists admit their ignorance. They are simply bluffing. Another bluff is the Mars going expedition. This is way back. They're talking about going to Mars. The business is going on in Arizona, that's all. After a few years, they will present some stones and say, now we went to Mars. There's no possibility of living there. Take this stone and sand and be satisfied for your millions of dollars that you have spent. Yes. Mars and Moon. Now, of course, they're talking about Mars again. But Srila Prabhupada made it very clear that no one can go to the Moon from here. Nobody can go to the Moon, and nobody can go to Mars. And that's true if you follow the Vedic system. You have to take birth there. There is a song in Bengal that formerly anything European, sahab, that is good. So one person was selling meat, the flesh of a dog. No one takes the flesh of a dog, at least in India. But he said, this is not ordinary. This was the dog that was killed by a viceroy. It is that dog. So because the viceroy killed it, it has become a nice dog, and you can eat it. The scientists are like that. Anything they say is to be accepted. Material scientists can say anything. Srila Prabhupada has so many times pointed out, based on Vedic knowledge, that the things that are spoken in the material sciences are many times not possible, because the Vedas say otherwise. And the Vedas, of course, are perfect. Personal. His method of teaching. This will be the 2 pages. This will be the last section. Prabhupada taught from an elementary level of Krishna consciousness up to the highest point of the philosophy. And this he did in his books, his talks, and his actions. He was strongly against people taking Krishna consciousness cheaply. such as the Prakrita Sahajas. Therefore, he repeatedly stressed that one must first understand, I am not this body. As a compassionate teacher, Prabhupada gave people as much Krishna consciousness as they could assimilate, and as was best for their advancement. But his writings enraged the gamut from the preliminary teachings of the Bhagavad Gita all the way to the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the intimate Leela of Krishna and the Gopis. Furthermore, since Srila Prabhupada was preaching in the 20th century, he had to confront with heavy forces of atheism represented by Darwinism, Marxism, and Freudism. He wrote and spoke to establish God's existence, the need for God in human society, Varnashram Dharma, and to defeat the scientific theory that life comes from matter. This defense of Krishna consciousness did not consist of very easily accepted lessons. Krishna consciousness had been presented with logic and by boldly attracting the opposition. Because Prabhupada was representing the Vaishnava Sampradaya from Lord Chaitanya, he continually opposed the Mayavad philosophy. Lord Chaitanya himself always spoke on the basis of Vedanta Sutra, establishing the absolute truth as a supreme person when he went with the leading scholars. Lord Chaitanya's talks about Radha and Krishna were reserved for a few people, such as Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar. Srila Prabhupada followed this parampara of Lord Chaitanya by constantly giving arguments against Mayavadism and by stressing the chanting of Hare Krishna. Revealing the higher aspects of Krishna consciousness was a matter of time, person, and place. Srila Prabhupada gave the highest nectar, the Vrindavan Leela of Krishna, in a way fresher than ever. It was fresher than ever. This is a long section. Maybe we'll just stop here and continue with the next one in the middle of the paragraph. Any questions, comments? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.